Anyways, people, let's get down to it. Welcome back to Per-spec-tiv.
Yes, we are your host, JP.
Lorenzo.
And Anton behind the camera.
Yeah, man, today we're here to get down into some business as usual. And we have none other than our esteemed host, Lorenzo.
I told me tell us I wait for
A good intro.
like that. No bother with that.
The man bad me up last week, say, yo, me never give my intro like when I get our guest Maya. So, Lorenzo is been living in Switzerland for the past 14 years.
Bro, no, that's not correct.
13 years.
That's still not correct,
12
but I will
years.
work with that.
11 years, 10 years. Just that one right, you know?
No, man, it's all good. You can continue. Me take the praise.
14 years.
I think it's 12 years now.
Okay, wow, 12 years. I've met Lorenzo professionally when I got a job at Iaki. He's currently serving as, well, I don't know, when I was there you were...
I'm not telling nobody.
Well on the brother, well on the introduction there. You were Congress, your Congress manager or Congress
I was Congress
specialist.
officer. Yeah.
This man, trust me, he's so multi-talented. Like, you should see the congresses that he put on for this company. Also, I would call you an IT whiz. He's a self-made man, basically. A guy who has, I would say, like a very wide range of experience, talking about migrating to Switzerland, learning the ins and outs, and actually now thriving here. Lorenzo, a man that I consider who can have multiple careers from, not just in the corporate world, but I tell him that if he wants to, he could also be a professional model. He could be a movie star. The man has a skill, like a plethora of talent. You know?
No, the man is putting me on the spot right now.
Yeah, but it's true. He's a sport enthusiast, not just watching the sport, but a partaker. I told you in the pilot episode that this man performed at the boys and girls championships in Jamaica. That's a huge deal. He's a basketball player. Also, could have gone pro football. So when I say sports enthusiast, like this man, not just enjoy the sports, but he partake as well. So, welcome to the podcast. You're on the hot seat, Mr. Lorenzo.
It seems so. But I'll take whatever I get today. I'll take it. I'll take it. Yeah.
How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good, man.
Yeah.
As I said before, it's weekend and looking forward to just having a relaxing weekend. Maybe link up with a few friends, as I said, and taking it easy.
Sounds good to me. So, when we were having a talk in the pilot, you made reference to a point that about a point that for you, family is something dear to you, but also something that can bring pain. So it's like a double-edged sword sometimes. You want to expound on that? Like, how do you feel about family? What does family mean to you?
Good point still.
Yeah.
In essence, Zin, family is being committed and caring for, as you said, the ones dearest or closest to you.
Really?
But what if you look at it, I don't only consider family. I don't only consider blood relatives family, but a lot of people that I've met along the way on my journey, I do consider a lot of those people family as well. So family does not necessarily mean blood relatives, right? Because some of those people, like you guys, who I've met along the way, I do care for you. I do have
family.
that same, love that I have for my siblings for all of you guys.
Yeah.
And that's really important for me.
We're talking about blood family. What does that mean for you? Touching on something important.
Blood family. Bro, all right, that one is difficult.
Yeah.
All right. In episode 1, right, we spoke about growing up in Jamaica. And I grew up with my grandmother, my aunts, etc.
Right.
And we weren't rich, right, financially speaking, but we were rich when it comes to nurturing and caring. So I can tell you that they were always there for me, no matter what,
Right.
whether they have it or not. It wasn't always easy though, to be honest, because growing up, sometimes as a kid, you are supposed to be free and you're supposed to live free, right? And have no worries whatsoever.
Right.
But I guess that's where my childhood trauma started as well, because even at that time as a kid,
Yeah.
there were many times where I couldn't go to school, right? Or I would go to school, but I would come back, and on the way back, I would wonder like, I wonder what's for dinner tonight, or is there anything tonight? And this is something that as a kid you probably shouldn't be thinking about, but I had those worries already from a tender age,
So in a
right?
sense, you had to grow up really early.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Were you the only man in the house? Or did you have other male figures in your household?
No, I grew up in a predominantly female home.
Okay.
So I was the only male figure.
Because I'm curious as to the reason why you would feel that you had to take on the responsibility of worrying at that young age.
I don't know, to be honest.
What do you think caused it?
I don't know why. I really don't know why. I feel like I've just always been like that.
Do you think?
And even today.
Do you think it was passed down to you, intentionally or unintentionally?
Unintentionally. I feel like it was passed down.
Yeah. In what way did you think they passed it down unintentionally to you?
To be honest, I can't explain that. To be really honest, I have no idea. I that's something I can't explain.
I think one of the things I realized with being a parent myself is that oftentimes we can have the best intention, but you also can be wrong with your best of intentions. It can also hurt. So basically you can be I hear it once and the words are failing me now, but it's like it can be I don't know why the words.
The thing is, when you talk about the intentions, right? And I mentioned nurturing and caring earlier. In Jamaica, where I grew up, nurturing and caring within the household meant that your parents provided clothes over your back. You were able to go to school. Food was on the table.
Yeah, you have a roof over your head.
You have a roof over your head. And that was it. Once that's been provided, like, they feel like they're doing their job. Like, there's nothing else to it.
Yeah, so there's a thing with that for real. Once they feel like they do the basic things, but I think you have to give grace to them.
Absolutely.
In the sense that when they grow up in poverty, or when there's a certain level of economic poverty, and some people might find that offensive because I'm sure they didn't consider themselves poor because there's poorer people than them.
Yes.
But in terms of societal poverty and the threshold that's there, I think when you grow up under the threshold, when most parents feel like just by doing the basic, that, bro, what are you complaining about? I didn't have this and I gave this to you, so what are you complaining about? So I definitely agree with that.
Absolutely. Even when you think about the responsibility sometimes, right? Maybe a lot of people might disagree with what I'm about to say, but parenting in Jamaica sometimes, I feel like they take care of you and provide for you, not because it is their responsibility to do so, but ultimately they know that one day they hope that you will be able to return that favor.
That's a deep one. I don't even know how to tackle this one right now. Yes, there has been a long time tradition, I think, that especially, I hear it here in Switzerland too, that especially around the farming community, that you would have kids, but a lot of kids, in the hope that they will come and take care of you. So I definitely hear that in Jamaica, like a lot of times your kids were your pension fund.
Yeah, that's
so you would
that's
find
true.
a lot of poorer class people having 6, 5-6 kids, and you're like, how can you afford 5-6 kids with your salary? But as you said, they did it as like this retirement plan, like hoping that one of the child will be successful so that they can take care of them. So
And-
basically, family for you is something that's always been dear, and as you said, you took on the responsibility early about worrying about the well-being, financially and emotionally from a young age. What's your relationship like with your parents? How would you describe that? Mom and dad.
Mom and dad. So I didn't grow up with any of my parents, right?
Okay.
My mom was always around,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't really grow up with her.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to explain.
Sorry.
I don't want to say there is no relationship, because there is a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and I love my mom dearly.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure the closeness. That's difficult to answer.
I can relate to you, know. I can share, and probably you have a similar experience. So, my mom had me at 16, 17. We were close until she got married. Then I had to stay with my grandmother. Then my grandmother became my mom. To this day, sometimes I think my mother feels guilty that I consider my grandmother my mom, and we have that bond. While her and me were like brothers and sisters, because my grandmother's kids now become like my brothers and sister, and so I view my mom that way. I love my mom to death, but my grandmother, I would give her the credit that she's my mom. So is it a situation like that where
Yeah,
you feel
it's if we should put it like that, it's similar, because as I said, I love my mom word without end, right? But for me, I was her first child, right? And when she had me, I think my grandparents sort of took me away in their own way.
Yeah.
You know, the Jamaican families,
to raise it?
to raise me,
Yeah.
because it was one of their first grandchild.
Of course, you're the first. Yeah.
Let's say.
Mhm.
So for that reason, also why I didn't really grow up with my mother, and that's why I have that special bond with my grandmother.
Yeah.
And
So it's a similar,
so
exactly.
it's a similar situation.
How do you think that affect your mother? How do you think, does it affect her that you were not as close? Does it affect you?
It does affect me,
Mm-hmm.
but like most things, we haven't really had that conversation. This is a conversation, or I have so many things that I would, love to sit down and talk to my mother about, just to get a better understanding,
Yeah.
just to understand really how she feels about me, and to let her know how I feel about her as well, because I feel like neither of us knows.
Mm.
And then when it comes down, just to piggyback before, with my father, it's even more difficult, right?
Yeah.
Because I can say the relationship doesn't exist.
Yes.
Um,
Was he ever present in your life?
exactly. So that's where I want to get. He was never around, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and the few times that I've seen him, when I said few, I mean really few times that I met him, it was never enough time to have that father-son bond, right? So it doesn't exist. And some people would say sometimes, like, do you think you can repair the relationship with your father, for example?
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, there is nothing to repair, right?
Because there was nothing to begin with.
Because there was nothing to begin with. I think he's a good person, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's a very good person, and he takes care of the kids, my other siblings who are around. But it was just not the case for me.
You just
And
never had him present at all.
I just never had him present, and I had a certain hate,
Mm-hmm.
let's say, towards him,
Mm-hmm.
as when I was younger, right?
Yeah.
But as I grew older, like, you need to have a place like of forgiveness somewhere. And I really had a little conversation with him,
Mm-hmm.
and I do understand now why he did what he did. And there is nothing to mend, but if I can have a relationship with him, why not? I have nothing to lose, right?
Let's take it back a bit to your mom. You said that you wanted to have. It's something that you would like. You aspire to, that you would love to have a sit down, chat with her, and she chat with you. If you were sitting in front of your mom right now, what's something that you'd like to say?
Ooh. I would just like to sit down with her and just be open, just be myself,
Mm-hmm.
and to understand like the way she feels about me, and maybe the way I feel is not the way how she feels, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, we haven't had that conversation. So sometimes I feel like maybe the love for me is not the same as it is for my other siblings. Maybe I'm completely wrong.
So what would you like to say? Would you like to ask her that question, like, or would you like?
I don't
to
know what
first-
I would start with,
Mhm.
but definitely going down that direction.
Well done. And to your dad, let's go back to your dad.
I don't know.
If you had a chance to, because you said something important. You said that he's a good dad to your other siblings. And you're not saying he's bad, you think he's a great person. But you just never had that chance to discover that side of him. If you had a chance right now, would you like to get to know him more?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So would you also like to have a sit-down chat, possibly in the future? If you
Possibly in the future, yes,
Yeah.
for sure. That's one of the things with Jamaicans in general, or with me, my family.
Mhm.
We don't know how to talk about anything.
Emotions, especially.
Emotions especially.
Oh,
and
true.
it and
Yeah.
it comes down to the topic conflict as well, right?
Yeah.
In my family, bro, there was a lot of conflict. I grew up around my mom, my aunts, cousins,
Yeah.
all the above, and I've seen them argue so many times about whatever, right?
Mhm.
And they would go weeks and months without talking to each other.
Yeah.
And when you see that, or due to that, or those unresolved conflicts,
Mhm.
I could see the resentment growing and growing, right?
Yeah.
And I think that has some impacts on me
Mhm.
personally. Because for me today, bro, I do not like conflicts.
Mm.
I don't know how to confront people, or I just don't like to confront people.
Yeah, it seemed like conflict resolution and taking ownership, like being responsible, is something that you inherited from your family dynamic. And I'm curious.
It's
how-
two things.
Mhm.
I inherited that.
Mhm.
I definitely feel like that,
Mhm.
and it's also a character flaw for me, because if I'm being really honest,
Mhm.
I am a person who I enjoy being liked.
Mhm.
So whatever issues there are, whether it's in my private life, it's at work or whatsoever,
Mhm.
I try to solve it, but in a diplomatic way.
You want to be liked. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's it, yeah.
And I know that it's not right,
Mhm.
and it is something that I'm working on.
Interesting. As you say that, the question came to my mind. Did you grow up in a... Because you just said it, and basically I just wanted you to confirm it.
Mhm.
So it's probably a rhetorical question. But did you grow up in a sort of chaotic household where there were a lot of arguments?
I don't want to bash no woman, but
No, I'm just
yeah, they
asking.
argue all the time. They argued all the time.
Because that probably explains your diplomatic sense right now and why you feel responsible.
And they argued all the time as a kid, and I loved all of them.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to ever take sides, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, for sure.
How do you deal with responsibility as it relates to your family? Do you feel responsible for them?
I used to,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't. It depends. I try to do the best I can
Mm-hmm.
whenever I can, right?
Yes.
And so if I can help my family
Mm-hmm.
in any way,
Yeah.
I will do it. And to be honest, I feel like I have been doing that
Mm-hmm.
for the longest time, and yeah, I won't stop doing that as long as I can.
Mm-hmm.
I will always be there to help my family. So if it means that I take the responsibility, then I will do it to the best way I can.
Do you think they support you in that way or appreciate?
Yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because I grew up there,
Yeah.
and I know how Jamaicans show appreciation not by saying that they appreciate something. It's strange. It's hard to it's really hard to explain it.
We're tough love.
They show appreciation by not showing appreciation. I don't know.
No, we're a tough love kind of culture, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult. But because I grew up in that way,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you know what? Even if they don't say it,
Yeah.
I think they do appreciate what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Jamaicans show appreciation by being there,
Yes.
just their presence.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't show up, then they don't appreciate you. But if they're there, then it's like they will never say,
I love you or
Yeah.
I appreciate
But
you.
Oh,
just
I've never heard someone in my family saying, "Yo, I love you,"
yeah.
or "I care about you."
Yeah.
Or
I think that's a cultural
never
thing.
happened.
It's just an emotional thing. I think they don't want to show, they don't want to say the word.
I mean,
like-
it goes down to the basic things like being here. I have friends with kids. Maybe you can looking for a word. I have friends with kids, and probably you know what I'm about to say. I see every night my friends taking their children or their kids to bed.
Yeah.
They take the time out to take their kids to bed,
Yes.
read them a book, have a little conversation,
Yeah.
something. I've seen that with my friends. And you can relate to
That's
that.
me. Yeah.
When I was growing up,
There was another. Same. But you know that we can go into that because I feel like these are the things that allowed me to be who I am today. Because I realize I give my kids what I didn't get in some sense. But again, going back to the topic of Jamaica and the culture of Jamaica is that we don't know how to show or express our emotion. I would say yes and no. Because if I'm looking at it from the perspective of the 5 love languages, I would say Jamaica is not a words of affirmation type of culture. But like what Anton and you also said, Lorenzo, is we are a acts of service. That's how we show love. Like if we show up for you,
Yeah.
better know so we love you. So I say that to say that I do think that we do as a culture have a problem to express our emotions. And I see that through how we express or how when we are speaking, what we say. For example, like if you hurt somebody growing up, what would they say? Yo, I feel away in a star. Or if somebody disrespects you or disrespects your friend and you're like, yo, what happened? You weren't there, but they were telling you that they disrespect them. They're like, what happened? What did he say to you? Yo, I'm not even want to know. I don't know in a star, but yo, when I say a while ago, I just feel a way about it.
or
star.
you just don't say anything.
Yeah, but listen to that. Feel a way. What way? It's like they cannot, and I'm not saying they because I'm Jamaican too oftentimes, and I did therapy to learn my basic emotions like you're a child. What emotion do you feel?
All right, let me give you
They can't express
let me give you a real life situation. I went to Jamaica 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And just before I go into this, I love all my siblings dearly. I love my sister dearly. But yeah, it's just an example.
Yeah.
I was there for like 5-6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And on Christmas Day, like, while we prepared dinner and everything like that,
Yeah.
She made a comment, and to me, that comment was just. It was a nasty comment. It really it hurt my feelings,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Fair enough.
And maybe for her it was nothing too much, but for me, that hurt me because I knew that I was doing my best. Like I was doing my very best, and I've always been giving my 100%. And I felt like the comment she made was not really. It wasn't nice. And since then, after that, I didn't speak to her. Right? Didn't say anything. She knew that I was mad.
Of course, because you're not talking.
Because I'm not
so
talking.
So now she's wondering what's going on.
And normally, like before that, we would talk now and then. Like, we don't talk all the time, but we talk now and then, like have the conversations and stuff like that. And it has been like 2 years now.
That you haven't spoken
since Jamaica.
Wait.
It has been almost 2 years.
It has been 2 years.
Almost.
That you haven't spoken with your sister since that conflict.
We had maybe we exchanged a few words.
How is that making you feel right now? Can I tap into that a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. It's hurtful, man. Like, it's hurtful knowing that the resentment is there.
Yes.
Between both of us.
Yeah.
And it's even more hurtful because I should know better. Not that it hurt me.
Yeah.
And that's fact. That's what it is. But I should know better to, reach out to her or sit down with her at the time and talk about it and talk about what made me feel bad about what she said. And maybe she could explain her side of the story. Yeah. So that's the most hurtful bit that we haven't had.
I think that's beautiful in some sense, because I'm sure she's gonna watch this now and hear that and understand how you feel about it and how much you have been hurt, that the connection between you two have been broken.
Because at the time, like, to be honest, I felt like, in my head, I was like, why am I here?
Yeah.
Like, I felt I was home, but I felt as if I wasn't home. I felt as if I didn't belong there.
Yeah.
And I felt so uncomfortable, bro. And when I left, I think it was a day or two later.
Yeah.
It's like all the burden was just
gone.
Yeah.
And this is sad.
Yeah.
For me, like, this is sad.
I find that that's often the case when, I don't know, but Anton, maybe you can relate. When I go home, I often feel the same way. Like, back to my childhood home, to my family, to my mom's. I have a rule now. I don't spend more than a day at my house, or 2. Because oftentimes I find myself when I'm there, I'm feeling like what Lorenzo feels. And I'm not the only one who feel that. I've had friends
100%
tell me that even as a married couple, I've had married couple, not just black or white, this is all across races. They said that they don't spend more than a night or 2 back home because of this exact feeling. Why is that?
So I'm in the same scenario. I've lived away from my family for 10 years now. I've lived in Canada, and I'm closer with them because of that. Like, when we conversate, it's like FaceTime.
Yeah.
When I was living in the UK, me and my mum didn't get on. We used to argue a lot, because I'm the type of person, as in, like, if I know how you think and you say something, I'll read into it a certain way and I'll react to it.
Yeah.
And that reaction could be wrong. You could not have meant it at that time.
Yeah.
Or you could have meant it, but because I've reacted, you're going to manipulate the situation and pretend like you didn't mean that.
Yeah.
And I will see straight through it. I'm like, I'm not here for that bullshit. Yeah. And that's why I would clash with a lot of people, because I know what you meant by that. Yeah. Don't take me for a dickhead.
Yeah.
And I'm not someone that's looking for confrontation, but I'm not someone that's shy from confrontation. If you've done me wrong, I will be a certain aggression towards you. And I'm like Lorenzo, I like being liked, but I have a threshold. Like, once you cross that threshold, I come. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is they don't think they're crossing that threshold. They think they're throwing out these digs that doesn't mean anything, but to that other person, that could be a trigger.
Yeah.
That could be something significant. And I'm very mindful that when I'm talking to someone, I don't trigger them.
Yes.
Like I've listened to their traumas and whatever, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to trigger you. But when you've triggered me, I'm like, right, let me reach into this little wallet here. Boom.
Pull up when I'm
I'm going to say what I need to say.
reverse.
And they don't like it. And I get why they don't like it. And I feel bad afterwards. Like it once I've done it, it plays on me for like hours and days and weeks and months. So I have to resolve it. I have to go in there and resolve it. So when I go to my mum's or my parents or whatever, me and my dad never fight. Ever. Like we can spend a whole 97 hours awake together and not fight. But me and my mum, we will get into a fight after 4 hours because we're so strong in our opinions, and I'm not gonna let you win this battle. And I remember recently when we were with my parents, me and my mum were having an argument about government in the UK, and it was getting heated. And then my mum was trying to be smart with me, but because I know how she plays games, I was ready, and I caught her in it, and I called her out for it.
Yeah.
And my dad's sitting there smiling because it was like, this is the moment. He's like, I've been wanting this to happen for time. Like, I've been trying to call you out on this crap for time, and you always just leave the room. But you can't leave the room at all because he's caught you. And then he's sitting there, and my mum's looking at him like, don't even say anything. And it's because she realizes at that moment, like, she's met her match.
Yeah. I have a theory.
As well, right? You can go ahead.
No, go on.
I think as well it comes down to expectations.
Yeah. Exactly.
It comes down to expectations in our culture. And I can say it because I've experienced it and I know it. Maybe other cultures are different, but this is my perspective.
Yeah.
As a man or a woman or whatever, once you leave Jamaica and you go overseas, the primary objectives are to build a house, build something back home, and take care of mommy or take care of the family, right? That's the primary objective. And when you reach wherever it is you're going, the UK, Switzerland in our cases, US, Canada, wherever, you send some money home, you work your ass off, you send some money home, etc.
Yes, right.
But then over time, because of the experience you're having now, those objectives, the primary objectives that you had, they are now changing.
Yeah.
Because you now see a nice car, you now see a nice apartment, you probably traveled somewhere else, and you're like, oh, nah, this is nice. I want to do this more. So now you need to prioritize, right?
Yeah.
And not everyone understands that.
Yeah.
So it's hard to find that balance. So because you have all these new objectives, maybe the support that you used to do back home or whatever, it cuts.
Yeah.
And not everyone understands that.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's on both sides. It's on our side who are living overseas, because sometimes we pretend. A lot of us pretend. We go back to Jamaica, or we pretend on social media that we have this crazy lifestyle, we're living the best life, we have the most money, and we pretend. And this is what we're showing the people there, like, we have it. You go down there, you rent the flashiest car and all of that. So we show them that we have the money.
I would say yes and no. I would say yes and no to that. I agree with what you're saying. But let me just go back to my theory before that. You touch on it, Anton touch on it. I have a theory as to why that happens. This unease happen with us, with I would say most millennials when they return home. My theory is expectation is one, but I think the expectation is in a different way. Whereas when you left home, they see you as a particular person.
Yes.
And it goes into what you just said. Now you have evolved into an adult. You going home, they still see you as the Anton or the Lorenzo that left 10 years ago.
They don't see the change.
It's hard for them to.
Absolutely.
Because remember, you're out of their sight. The last reference point they had of you
was
was
that
then.
yeah.
So a lot of people, when they go in now, their expectation of you is Lorenzo from 12 years ago.
Exactly. That's why sometimes a man will say, yo, him switch.
But it's natural.
But it's
You're
natural.
supposed to switch. Meaning you're supposed to grow. If you're stagnant, then that's bad. But I think that's the expectation that they and the conflict, that's what's causing the conflict. They don't know how to manage that expectation. They don't know how to adjust not everyone. Some do it well, but most don't. Parents including. They don't know how to manage expectation of 20-year-old Jermaine versus a 30-year-old Jermaine. And I even have it too where, like you, Anton, like I've become this straightforward person. I wasn't like that. I was very much like you guys in my early 20s. I wanted to be liked. I stayed away from conflict. But in my 30s, and since I became a parent myself, without causing disrespect, and I love my family, especially my sister, aka my auntie and my mom and my other siblings. I would never disrespect them, but it doesn't stop me from saying my truth. That is a Jermaine that they don't know. They didn't grow up. That Jermaine didn't grow up in front of them. That Jermaine grew up here in Europe and being a parent. So they don't know how to manage their expectations. But I have the same problem that you have sometimes when I'm speaking to my mom. First of all, I'm seeing her as a sister because I grew up with my grandmother. But I'm just telling her straight up, like, no, I don't agree with that point, or what you're saying is wrong, or in some sense, like, I'm telling her the outright truth.
Yeah.
But that's, again, the expectation of, yo, this is not Jermaine. No, it is me. I have evolved. I have grown. I've seen my shit, and I can take responsibility of my stuff. And I can also see yours and call you out. And it doesn't mean I hate you. I'm not against you.
To be totally fair, like you touched on the point, like if I was like that when I was living in the UK, me and my mum would have fought more.
Yeah.
But because now we have a different relationship where we can have an argument, but when we're still close. Like I'm so close with her now that I wasn't close when I was in the UK. That no argument is going to make us fight for long. Like we'll have an argument and it won't even be anything significant. And then it's just like, oh, do you want to eat something? Yeah, sure. Okay.
So that's the thing. Like,
I love this part of it, Lorenzo.
This is good. This is good.
Do you see what I mean? But that's an evolution of like, that's showing that she's growing and that's showing that I'm growing and we're not going to allow a disagreement to come between us. I have that with my mum because I moved away.
Yeah.
But like we touch on friends and family, there's some friends that I don't have that with, that if I have an argument with a certain friend, I know it's done. Like
I would say some family members too, but I love But I love the point that you touch on, Lorenzo, really. It makes sense. I think sometimes moving away healed a lot of relationships for me.
Yeah.
Like me and my sister, we got closer. To this day, we're calling, we're talking, I'm sharing my problems with her. She's asking me from perspective and vice versa. Growing back in the house, she was the older sister. She would bust my ass a lot. We would be neck and neck. You know, it's like, I felt like she didn't like me or there was this constant dislike, but no, we're close. Same with my mom. Like, even though I'm calling her out or talking to her, you know, like, I think that's the thing as an adult, because I am, and even though she's my mom, but I'm speaking to her as an adult straight up, it's still, as you said, it won't get beyond a certain point. If she feels like she's crossed the line, she's growing and evolving, like you saying, that she would be like, hey, text me, I'm sorry for what I said.
I mean, sometimes there's not even a sorry involved. Yeah. It's just like, okay, that's what you believe. Okay, that's what you believe.
And exactly, and you leave it.
It moves, but like when we talk about family, not every family member can do that. No. Like, and that's where, you know, I've got loads of cousins, loads of sisters. Like, I never fight with any of my sisters. The youngest sister, who is older than me by a long way, we will have tiffs, but she can always call me and I'm always going to answer. Yeah. And that's what I regard as family. Yeah. If we get to that point where even if we have a fight, we're still going to call each other, hey, do you want to go get some food? That's family. Yeah.
Or you're going to show up for her in the time of need.
Do you see what I mean? And that's not there's no blood exchange. It could be someone that's not blood related.
And that's why I'm telling you that I feel bad between this thing between me and my sister, right? Yeah. Because I know better. And I should be doing better. Yeah. But I don't do it.
I think the problem is, and this is from my perspective of hearing that story, she doesn't realize the significance of what she said. And the only way that you can get past that is by having the conversation. the problem is some people are not good at having a conversation. I know you can have the conversation easy, but I don't know your sister, so I don't know if she can sit there
That's the thing.
accept that she did something wrong.
It's so difficult to have that conversation, not just with my sister, but with my mom, or maybe my younger brother as well, right? I don't know how to have that conversation because I'm thinking like, how will they react?
That's it.
I'm like, will I make my mother cry
Yeah.
if I ask certain questions or if I touch certain topic?
Yeah.
Same with my sister. I even wrote a letter, right? You know what? I can't say it,
Yeah.
so I need to put it on paper, right?
Yeah.
I wrote a letter.
Yeah.
Still haven't done that. Still haven't sent that because for me it's not the right
But
way.
that's
I want to confront them face to
That's
face.
therapy right there. Putting pen to paper and putting your emotions about how you feel about your family and the situation. I think that's deep. Like, I respect that. I've done that too.
I think you've got to challenge yourself to have the conversation, because something I do know is when you're sitting in the presence of people you love and you have the conversation, it always ends up correct. Like, the only way it doesn't end up correct is because somebody there has got amnesty towards you, or you've got amnesty towards them, and you're not willing to meet and have a common ending. But when there's love there and it's true, like, it comes correct. It might be a difficult conversation. I've had them with friends. Like, recently I've had difficult conversations with friends where they've offended me, I've offended them back, and we've had to sit down and talk about it. But we've had the conversation. But when someone offends me and they don't even want to reach out and they go on, I'm like, they're not real. They don't respect me. Like, so I have to sit down and talk with them to fix it. If I don't sit down and talk with you, then it means it can't be fixed.
Yeah.
I agree with Anton to a point, but I would say this, I will add this. I've done what you've done. Like, I remember, 10 years now I'm in Europe, like, I moved away. And again, I was like a child, somewhat. And I had the same problems like you. And I wrote letters to each of my family member. And I mailed them because I was at the point, like Lawrence, I could not have that conversation. And I found what the letter did was to soften
Exactly.
the hearts so that the conversation
can
could
be
be
had.
had.
Yeah.
So for you, I agree. He needs this conversation.
Yeah.
But for what he's feeling, I think maybe pen to paper and then reading it first. Because I sent to my sister, to my mother, to my grandmother, to even my neighbor. I think at 30 or 29, 27, I had an epiphany. And I see my responsibility in all of the dynamic of all my relationships. And instead of blaming and like, yeah, you need to do that and you need to do that, or you hurt me, I wrote it from a perspective that the epiphany that I had. I was like, whoa, you know what? What they did wasn't okay, but my role in it played a part to that. And that's the angle I took it from. And that made a big difference.
Yeah.
Because if you write it if you approach a conversation from the angle of, yo, Anton, you hurt me, and we had our squabbles too, like, you hurt me, and I am down on that, but it took one of you to be like, yo, I hear what you're saying, you're stuck on that now, but guess what? We all were wrong.
Yeah.
And that softened the way. So because I took that approach too, like, listen, you hurt me, but guess what? I see my role that I played. And I want to tell you, and I think this is important what you're doing here today, I want to tell you that I feel sad that the relationship between us is broken. That is your soft spot to them, because now you're not taking it from the angle of you hurt me. What you're taking it from is, I'm sad that our relationship is broken. I want to talk with you.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's difficult. I think the difficult part is accepting that maybe we did something wrong,
or not, you know,
or not. But maybe in their eyes we did something wrong. Because like, that's where some of my conversations get difficult. Like, I know when I lash out on someone, I've done something wrong, because I'm not going to control what I say, and I'm good with my words. I know what word to pick to say to someone and hit a certain point, because I've trained myself in that category. But at the same time, sometimes I give it too hard. Do you see what I mean? I'm like, I'm one of those people where it's like, okay, you need to know when to not go too hard, like, because that could hurt someone. Even though they've hurt you, it doesn't mean you have to hurt
have to
them.
retaliate,
Do you see what I mean? And that's where you have to look at yourself and think, okay, I need to do this. I think with Lorenzo's situation, he's done everything correct, but the only thing he hasn't done is challenge himself to have the conversation.
Yeah.
Like he removed himself from the thing, but now they've gone a long period of time where they're not talking, and now it's hurting him because he's got so much love for his sister that he's like, I want to resolve
Restore
this.
exactly.
Like,
I want to restore.
do you see what I mean? So now he's got to challenge himself to like, because some people, they don't get it. Some people, like, I think all of us in the room, we're very similar. Like, we're very mindful of other people's feelings. Yeah. Even though we can hurt people's feelings, we're very mindful.
But it affects us.
Yeah.
Even though I'm having this conversation, right? I'm very mindful of, I want to say my truth, right?
Yeah.
I want to say it the way it is.
But you still want to protect her.
I still want to protect the people I'm talking about,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
And
that's a good thing, though.
Yeah, but that's the part that I mean about taking your ownership of your role in it. So it's not that you have to do something wrong. It's just that
it's true.
What I mean by taking ownership, and this is what I learned, and this is the angle I wrote my letters from. What vantage were you in the situation?
Yeah.
I'm glad that this is perspective and it's coming a foot 180 to it, or 360. What vantage were you in the whole situation?
Yeah.
You didn't have to say anything. You were not the instigator.
Yeah.
But where were you?
Yeah.
And take that from that position, you can realize, I understand. Like even you said it, Anton, I understand why you reacted like that. Even though I'm right, I'm going to come down from this and I'm going to approach you where you are.
Yeah.
So you took something I did some way that I didn't intend.
Yeah.
And this is what I wanted to say earlier. Sometimes what I learned, one of the biggest lessons too, is that sometimes you can be sincere, but you can be sincerely wrong.
Yeah.
And a lot of people cannot account for that because, and this is what I realize is the root of most conflict, because we're going to argue, yeah, but I didn't mean it that way. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. That's how it was perceived.
I'm not saying that you're bad, because we can be sincere enough. We can have the purest intention,
of course,
but it's wrong.
It's wrong. But that's it. I think that's where most conflicts happen. I think most people don't. Maybe I'm a hopeless-minded person thinking that people don't mean to be mean. But maybe some people don't mean for something to come some way, but because you've taken it that way and the way you've reacted is like, well, fuck you then.
That's how it starts.
And that's how it starts. And it's like but we have to be adults and be like, okay, I know I didn't mean it like that. But let me just come from where they're looking and let's try and correct this. But if after all that you're trying to correct it, they're still going the same way, then you can say, well, fuck you then. Like,
but even then, this is what I mean. Like, what's your responsibility in that?
But there's only so far you can go.
True, but even then, for example, like I had a situation in my family where, one of my uncles were being very difficult. Like, to be honest, he's a master manipulator. He will never see it, and he goes around victimizing, like blaming everybody except himself. I love him. Love him to death. He's still one of my favorite. In his mind, I hate him because I confronted him. I see him for who he is, and I treat him as that.
He is.
Nothing more, nothing less. I don't treat him less than. But I'm not gonna put you on a pedestal because guess what? Like you were saying with your mother dynamic, I see you for who you are. I know what you're doing. And the thing is, I love him, but guess what? I'm not gonna say fuck off. It's just that I'm not gonna deal with you as close as possible. So again, I take from the vantage that I'm standing, I see my part in it. I'm approaching you from where you stand. That guess what? You are right now in your feelings and in your victim mindset. I accept you for that. And an uncle taught me this when I was young. Another uncle, he said, Jermaine, the sooner you learn to accept people for who they are, no more and no less, your life becomes easier.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day,
I agree with that.
So I don't have to tell you to fuck off anymore.
I'll tell you why I'm at that point. And this, I think Lorenzo's going to understand me from this. Like, when you're kind to people and you're kind to a lot of people, after a while, people start to take the piss. And it comes to a point where you say no more.
Yes.
And then that's when you're just like, when you see someone and they see you reaching out to them, see you trying to like fix something, and then they're still being an asshole, that's when I'm like, well, fuck you. And I've only done that to like 2 people in my life.
Okay, now I know what you mean. I mean, you just draw the line. It's
You
not
just like,
necessarily
it's done now.
But
like,
basically, that's what I mean. But I don't do it with animosity. It goes back to the first episode. If I draw a line with you, I erect my boundaries.
Yeah.
I really have no beef with you.
Yeah,
It just means that you're not gonna cross over and affect my space anymore.
Yeah.
I see you for who you are, and I keep you at arm's length. So peace be with you. Like you said, in other words, fuck off with love.
Yeah. I'm a bit more aggressive. Like I'm quite an aggressive person when I need to be.
Yeah.
And that's because I grew up in London. If you're not like that, you get eaten alive. So you have to sometimes fight your corner properly.
I was aggressive, but I realized that. And growing up in John's Road, but I think that's also how I've changed. Like. I realize that not everything can be solved with conflict. That's
the thing. The thing is, what I realize is, when it comes to, if you want to have a prosperous relationship with family, spouses, friends, you need to be able to have those difficult conversations. Yeah. You need to be able to have those uncomfortable conversations if you ever want it to work. Yeah.
And the last point I'm going to make before we go into rapid fire, I'm going to end on a saying my grandmother put in my head when I was younger too. And some might say it's stupid. Sometimes for peace sake, you have to take the wrong and move on. And what you mean by that is, to restore a relationship means sometimes you just have to, again, come down to their level, understand their perspective. So it's not that you were wrong. Sometimes they can be the instigator. But you have to know, sometimes people are just not at your level. And you are not up there. And you just
agree with that.
You just have to accept them as they are, where they are, and put your healthy boundary up. And then you deal with them from that. No more, no less.
Do the best you can.
Do the best you can.
Until you know better.
Right?
Then when you know better, you do better, right?
I swear. You grew up with my granny.
It's simple.
You grew up with my granny. Yo, guys. That sums it up for this episode. Now we're going to go into the perspective game.
Perspective game. Speaking of game, we realize Anthony is a bit quiet today.
Why?
He might watch football.
Yeah, man. Multitask.
Yo, the man behind the camera watch football.
Can't do
you better make sure so you get all the audio and the visuals right.
Don't worry.
Man behind the camera is watching football, bro. So you ready for the rapid fire?
No, I'm not. I will not answer any questions I don't feel. I plead the fifth. You feel comfortable? Yes.
It's pretty easy. We're gonna do it in maybe under 2 minutes.
Perfect. Here we go.
All right, watch it now. What's the first thing you do when you wake up?
Whoa. The first thing I do, I tell you, I get up and I make a coffee. That's the first thing I do.
I drink water. I literally get up, reach for a glass of water, drink it, and then I decide, do I go back to bed or do I start my work?
Nice.
All right.
You?
I mean, I ask the questions.
All right.
Well, the first thing we do when we wake up, I don't know, boss a piece.
That's true.
Yo,
that is true.
It's true. It's true.
That is like the first.
It's true.
I think the water comes after that. Yeah.
The fart have a piece. You must have
come back to the one. But the first thing we do, boss a piece, bro.
Yeah.
What is something all men fantasize about? Come on, fast, quick.
I wouldn't say all. I don't know what all men think about.
It depends on the kind of man, innit? But I would say women.
Yeah, but that's a given.
That's what I'm saying. Every man, if you're into women, every man will
just... Right. For me, punani.
Yeah, pussy.
Rate yourself. How you look on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yo, 7. A hard 7.
Every man will say that.
A hard 7.
And I think that's why I like how men are mentally. We're not going to go out there and downgrade ourselves, but we're not going to say we're a 10. You know, when you see a group of gals, I'm a 10.
You're all with them
and you're
4.
all looking at her and you're just like, are you sure about that?
So rate yourself now?
It depends. Right now, I would say I'm a 6.8, but I'm usually a 7.5.
See?
But I need to work on myself.
I think I'm a hard 7 with how I look.
All right, you can't change.
No, seriously. Well, I know. But when I think my game is when I speak. I think when I pull up to you and my conversation, I think that round me up to a hard 9.
All right.
What about you?
What about you?
I think I'm a 6.5, bro.
Idiot thing that this man can
I'm
walk
a-
into
I'm
any
a-
place.
I'm a realist.
Because look
I'm
on
a
it.
realist.
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
realist.
Look on, you're
I'm
a realist. What? Go ahead.
I'm a realist.
Yo, come on for the show. Don't ask no more questions. Go ahead.
What's your best feature?
My dick. I swear, yo.
I thought my best feature.
Most women say my bum.
All right.
So
Yeah, my teeth are me say my dick, but
I think, but in fact,
Woman
every
said
woman
my eyes,
that's like me
my
always
eyes.
said my bum.
Mm.
So
I would say my eyes, but not because of color.
All right.
You.
If
Or-
I would say my eyes as well.
yes.
yeah, every woman that's met you, oh, his eyes. I was
They
lost.
love it. They
And you
love
can see them being lost as
No,
well. They're just like this. And
I'm the one running the questions. If you're in a burning building,
it. Yeah. Go on.
you can take 20 million
yeah,
or your girlfriend. Which one you take?
Yo,
That's a-
20
that's a-
million in a man.
nah. What? Okay. If it's a girlfriend, then 20 million. If it's a wife, my wife.
That's what I mean.
Alright.
See, that's a question.
What's the biggest Jamaican stereotype?
Batman.
Stereotype.
Batman.
Biggest Jamaican stereotype.
Batman.
It depends though, because like if you go certain country in Jamaica, yeah, but if you're outside of Jamaica, it's how fast can you run? Everybody. I bet you're a fast runner. How fast can you run? Everybody.
Or
Oh yeah, do you
Okay,
smoke
that's
weed?
true.
Yeah.
In Jamaica, the biggest stereotype of Batman, but outside, I would say here in Europe, well,
But why are Jamaicans so obsessed with that?
I swear, it's the
Like the
biggest.
obsession.
Even my Swiss friends who came back from Jamaica, they keep saying, "Why everybody keeps saying Batman?"
Yeah, what is the obsession?
everything. Like even when, I was
Everybody.
telling this man, even when we were kids, right? And you would want to get somewhere fast. You're like, okay, let's race. The last man reach about
Last one, yo.
It's crazy because it's like every single, like you go to Jamaica, it's like
That's
the
a
biggest
filter.
obsession. Like I don't get it.
Yeah, it's a filter.
I don't get it.
I think it's a very taboo topic to have. Like,
Lex.
Yeah, he's right. Because we can start another podcast.
Yeah,
just
we can
on that.
start another podcast on that.
yo, we can go into that for
Oh,
you.
yeah.
What European accent is the worst in English?
The worst.
Yeah.
European accent in English, the worst. Italian.
French.
No.
French.
German.
No.
No,
Oh, you know what?
no, you're French when them come in if it's translated to English.
What?
Say 2019.
Yeah, but you're talking about the language.
The language, yeah. Say
but we're talking about the accent.
We're talking about the accent.
Like when they speak English.
People fool him on camera. Don't edit the podcast. Sorry, I really wasn't
edit the
listening.
podcast.
You're right.
Yeah.
For me, oh my god, I can't say.
For me, it's German.
Bulgarian.
Okay.
It's very aggressive.
What's the best gift in life?
Love,
I agree.
love,
Pure.
yeah, love.
I agree.
But love to me, it's not love. It's
It's a
not
currency.
pure.
Like if someone loves you, you can feel better than if someone gives you like.
$1 million.
It's true. It's a
Yes.
proper currency.
I heard someone answer this question, Zin, and he's like, well, the best gift in life is when we get up, I'm a boss of shit. I'm a boss of belch. I'm a boss of fart.
Yeah, it's a Jamaican interview.
Yeah, he's like, nobody can do that for me. That's the best gift in life.
Oh, so the boss of shit and a fart.
Of course.
Oh my God. Favorite female body part?
Oh.
Yeah, Batman or your breast, man?
I'm neither.
I'm neither
I
as well.
love the female body, so it's really hard to decide because I like
Decide.
to explore everywhere. But
No, you need to choose, bro.
I would say I like from the torso down to the thighs.
So torso, that's it.
Me, I like. It's weird. I like the
No.
shoulders and the back, the way, like when you see, like you man know what I'm talking about. The shoulders and the back in a certain silhouette.
Me like a nice little body.
See, a Batman.
You see, Jamaican. That's
Wappy back on you.
You believe in a ghost?
Yes. Duppy are real. For me, anyway.
No. And it's because of what my grandmother said. If ghosts were real, there would be no white people left in this world. Think about it. All the slaves that died would come back, and if they could do something, they would have done it.
But we don't know if black people did some madness before we were even like.
Yeah, but or it's not just white. But she said if
Yeah.
ghosts were real, people who hurt people would not be alive because then you could come back and do
But some of them are hurt people and you just don't know about it.
Nah, bro.
If you could wake up in the body of someone else, who would it be and what would you do?
Yo, myself. I just want to wake up as myself.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to be in someone else's body.
No, bro. That's uncomfortable.
Same thing for me. If you were born 12 years ago, how old would you be today?
Oh, gosh.
Yo, it's not a fucking question, bro.
12.
I don't know what people are, that's not a tricky
Yeah,
question.
people
to
fooling
answer.
us.
Exactly.
Oh
I see
my
people struggling
God.
on social media. Me born 12 years ago. No, 14. 20, today, 14 years ago.
Do you know why they ask that question? Because they want to see if you're listening to what someone says or you're taking what you think you hear.
And yeah, that's interesting.
That's why they ask that question.
But people overthink it. If
People
you're born
overthink,
12
people
years
overthink.
ago,
No,
of course
but
the
it
answer
shows
is
you the
12.
character. Like that is a very good question to ask someone on a first date because it will show you if they listen to what you say or if they just hear what you
Exactly.
Yo, don't give me ideas, no.
Like, because
I got busted to
that
me.
you-
I
you'll
was
see.
a girlfriend.
Me
now.
not trouble him no more.
No, man, ask me.
We'll close out with that.
No, man, you have one.
That was the last one.
Okay.
That was the last one. So if you don't have any rapid questions, feel free to go that way. Thank you guys for listening. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate the support and everything.
I am JP.
Lorenzo.
and Anton behind the camera.
Big up you guys self. Big up your damn self.
Yeah, man.
Tin, 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 tin.